So I really want to thank the Faculty of Theology for this invitation this morning. Jazakumullah anna kulla khair. Thank you for inviting us here. And as it was a short trip, leaving Tehran this afternoon, inshallah, we had the opportunity to give 2 lectures, and this is the second one. So, as I was asked at the beginning, it's going to be given in English, and you almost all understand English, hopefully. And then there will be a summary by the brother in Farsi, inshallah. You will have a summary of the talk. But I will give straight away my talk in English and not to cut it and to have translation after every 2 minutes. I think it's okay for all of you? So the people who say nothing, they don't understand. Okay, I will try my best, and I hope that we will be able to translate this into Farsi, inshallah. The topic today, and I was asked to first talk in the last lecture about the typology of the different trends in Islam, and I try to explain the levels of diversity and the way, in fact, what are the limits of the accepted diversity. Today, I'm going to talk about the challenges in the contemporary world, the Muslim challenges, and the challenges that as Muslims we are facing today. And once again, it's nice to have a packed audience as we have this morning, and my coming here is not just to share views with you about the state of affairs, what are the elements and what are the main challenges, or to start with a discussion that we like among Muslims and we like among Muslims living in Muslim majority countries, is just to blame the West and say the West is responsible for everything, so we only have to criticize the West. I'm a Western Muslim, so criticizing the West would be to criticize myself, because I'm a Westerner by culture. And I understand from the Islamic tradition that there is something which is very specific, taken from the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, والسلام, is whatever is good somewhere, you take it as yours, and whatever is bad, you resist. And there are many things in the West that are good that we have to take, and many things that are bad or we have to be selective with. By no wonder, it's exactly the same with the Iranian culture. Many things in the Iranian culture are good, we take them. But there are things that we have to be very critical towards because they are not really Islamic. They are more Iranian than Islamic. And don't tell me this, even I'm saying this to the Saudis. Islam was born in Mecca and Medina. There are many things in the Arab cultures that are good, but many things that are not Islamic. They are more Arab or Arabic than they are Islamic. So the starting point of everything is make your mind. Be selective and try to understand how you have to deal with the world today. So dealing with our challenges, I will come to this discussion here to challenge you in a way. So I'm talking about the challenges, challenging the Muslims, challenging ourselves, we as Muslims, and trying to get a sense of what are the priorities, to be also practical in what we have to do. We like to talk too much. And very often we come with what we call in Arabic al-nadariyat al-amma, which is the general theoretical concepts that we may have, but we are not enough practical. We are not enough coming with practical solutions. And when I'm saying practical solutions, I'm not talking about urgent solutions. Practical solutions is to have a vision for the next 50 years, for example. Do we have a vision? Do we have a vision which is practical? And we very often confuse priorities with state of emergency. So no, the priorities are on the long run, and emergency is what is happening now. I'm not talking about what is happening now. We need time to think, time to have a vision, رؤية مستقبلية, meaning what we want to achieve, and then to start with الأولويات. في الطريق الأولويات, meaning the priorities that we have on our way to try to achieve our goals. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm not here to talk about emergency, I'm talking about priorities and the vision for us, dealing with the challenges. Having said that now, let me come with straight away with an introduction, and with this introduction, 3 main points. And you will see something that I start to say here in this Faculty of Theology. I'm also teaching in the Faculty of Theology at Oxford University. There is something that it should be clear for you. I'm going to speak my mind, like it or not. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm not going to please any one of you. I'm not here to please you, by the way. I'm much more here to shake your some of your certainties and your comfort zone that you like to stay in order to think that we are good and the others are bad. No. I'm here to speak my mind in a critical way and saying in which way we as Muslims today we have to face the challenges and how do we have to deal with some of the issues. Having said that, what are, if I start with an introduction, 3 main points. The first one is, okay, when we deal with challenges, we as Muslims today, we are facing multiple internal crises. Multiple. The first one, and it's not the last one in ranking all our priorities, is our understanding of the message. So you are, for the majority of you, you are learning Islamic theology. And we are teaching Islam everywhere. Iran is a Muslim majority country. There is no discussion about this. How much today do we know of our message, the in-depth of the Islamic message? Not the message that we use to respond to others, but the message we understand to give meaning to our life. I'm talking about not the message that we explain, but the message that we experience. And it's not the same. The experience, the message from within. When the Prophet ﷺ is saying, when he was asked about what is your mission, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, I was sent to complete and to achieve and to come with the noble characters and behavior. He meant this message is not about your mind only. This message is not about your heart only. This message is about your behavior. It's the way you experience it. It's about you change your life. I came here with a message that should change your life, not only help you to think. We are talking about this. So our crisis is, we talk a lot about Islam. Are we deeply Muslims? We talked a lot about the rules, al-ahkam al-Islam, halal, haram. That's fine. Do we have the meaning of that? You pray 5 times a day. Do you know why? Do you know, or are you checking the quality of your prayer and not only the number? That's the big question. This is a deep crisis. It's a spiritual, intellectual, and psychological crisis that we are facing. The second element with the message is, having said that, we need also to face another crisis, which is important, is the priorities. Al-awlawiyat. What comes first in Islam? If I come between Sunni and Shi'i, I'm a Sunni scholar, and you are, the great majority of you are Shi'i, we agree on one thing which is essential, which is the way Allah is talking about himself, I, we, and he, saying, Allahu la ilaha illahu, which is the oneness of God. The Tawheed is the priority in our message. No Islam without Tawheed. La ilaha illahu, Muhammadun Rasulullah is the shahada that we have. Having said that, the first priority saying that Islam is, the centrality of Islam is about the Tawheed as the first teaching. What comes after that? What are the priorities that we have? How do we structure the way we have to deal with the Islamic message today, which is important? And this means, as I said, that the priority has to do with understanding the way of life. Allah in the Quran is saying, ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاكَ عَلَى شَرِيعَةٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْرِ فَاتَّبِعْهَا, and then you put you in a way, you have to follow the way. So you say, La ilaha illallah is the principle, and then follow the way, which is exactly, Muhammadun Rasulullah is the second part of the Shahada. The Prophet ﷺ is the messenger, so you have to follow him. And saying that if you love God, إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي, you have to follow the Prophet ﷺ in the name of your relationship to Allah. And that point is essential. We don't worship the Prophet ﷺ. We worship only Allah and we follow the Prophet ﷺ because he is the path that is leading us to come back to him. So in this, understanding of the way we have priorities that we have to explain, that we have to set for ourselves. Never let anyone outside Islam telling you what are your priorities. Because the enemies of any identity, the enemies of any religion, the enemies of any spirituality, one of the strategies is to change your own understanding of who you are. Not to face you against who you are, but to make you change the way you look at yourself, which is intellectual colonization and internal alienation. That's what we are talking about here. So what we need here is to understand that all of I'm saying here, you can't get this if you don't have a sense of what is in the Quran. Kunu Rabbaniyin, you have to be connected to Allah, which is the spiritual message of Islam. And you know what? Coming to Iran, I might say that for the first 2 days, I met a lot of Muslims. I'm not sure that I'm always meeting deep spirituality. You get the difference? The deep spirituality, the deep understanding of our religion. It's not only in Iran. I can say this about my country of origin, in Egypt. Or I can say this even in Muslims, wherever they are. We have a crisis of spirituality in our understanding of our religion. Having said this, what we can add as a crisis is the way we deal with knowledge. Wherever you go, and you can start with this university and everywhere, we keep on repeating, Islam is based on what? That read in the name of your Lord that has created. And we say read means knowledge. Okay, that's fine. The way we deal with knowledge is something that we have to check. Are we having a comprehensive way of dealing with knowledge, or are we facing, exactly like the West, a fragmentation of knowledge? That we have, for example, faculty of theology, that's fine, but what is the connection between your faculty and human sciences and experimental sciences, all the other sciences? Why do we say that these are sacred sciences and the others are profane sciences? Who said that? It's not in the Quran. In the Quran is Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Khalaqa what? The count. The count is the universe. The universe is as sacred as your mind. The universe is sacred as your mind. You have to respect the universe. So the knowledge of the universe is as sacred as the knowledge of the text, because both are revelations. So our understanding of knowledge here is something which is deep. We should not disconnect knowledges and try to reconcile the knowledges. And in fact, in Islam, as soon as you say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, that you say, I start in the name of Allah, in the name of God, everything is sacred. Everything. Everything. We don't have this division that this is sacred and this is not. You say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The fact that I meet you and I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh is sacred. We are entering the sacred dimension of the human dignity. We have dignified human being in the name of our connection to Allah. So this understanding of knowledge also is one of the crises. And then another crisis is talk to Muslims today. And I can take all the students here and say, you know what, tell me what are your objectives. Not only in your life, but as a citizen of the Iranian society. What is your objective? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve 50 years from now? What is your objective in life? So the problem is that Muslims are talking about a lot of their problems, and wherever you go, I came here and during the last 3 days talking to Muslims, we are always talking about our internal problems. One of the big problems that we have is this fracture between Sunni and Shia today in the world. We have a problem. So we talk about this. But the point is, talk about the problems in the light of a vision. Because if you end up talking about your problems become your vision. So you don't have a vision, you only have problems. So this is why the Muslims are very often obsessed with their problems. And what is your vision to solve the problem? Oh, let us talk about the problem. Yes, but we need a vision. We need something that we want to achieve beyond all this. So once again, here the objectives are missing, And then add to this, one of the other crises that we have is what I said is the lack of internal, intra-community dialogue. Many of us, and we met in Barcelona, many of us, we have less problems talking to Christians, to Jews, to Buddhists, than to talk to fellow Muslims. So you go to with some Salaf, you say, the Shia, I'm not sure they are Muslims. And the Shia, sometimes you have some who say, no, but the Sunni are completely wrong. We are right. We have dogmatic minds in both sides. And we are not achieving something in our internal dialogue. This is a crisis. And you can say whatever you want about Americans or about the Westerns. They are going to use our weaknesses. If we are divided, if I am an American against Muslims, I will do exactly the same. Look at one Sunni, look at one Shiite, and let them fight. You can't say, this is the devil. No, it's just a smart guy dealing with our own weaknesses. So they are smart where we are weak, with the fact that we have this stuff. And then there are other crises, and one of them also, which is important, is the political situation in the region today. Things are moving. We are dealing with the new Middle East, with very, very deep foreign forces working in the Middle East, and us not knowing how to set our political priorities. And I said, and I repeated this, I came here, I said, I'm saying this with the colleagues at Press TV, I don't agree with the Iranian position on Syria. I think it's not the right, and I'm ready to talk about politics. But I will never accept any one of you telling me, because we don't agree on Syria, that I am less Muslim than you. You don't have the monopoly of Islam on a political position. Never, ever. No one can put somebody outside Islam because he has another political view. So I don't agree with the majority of you on Syria. And so what? Are we adult? Are we wise enough to talk about politics while the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, were disagreeing and still brothers in front and before God? This was something which is essential. Today we have this crisis also, a very deep crisis in our political understanding. Now, there is another one, and the last one, I'm not going to be able to go through all this, but I just wanted to highlight, is also our relationship to others, our relationship to the West, even our relationship to our neglecting understanding, our neglectfulness when it comes, for example, in understanding new forces in the world. It's as if, because of our history in the Middle East, we are obsessed with the United States of America and the European countries. What do we know about Asia? What do we really know about China and Japan and all these new Eastern countries that are going to play so important role in the coming years? We don't study. In fact, we are obsessed with centers of power. Americans, Europeans, we think that this is what we have to think about, and we are not dealing with a vision of who are going to play. Can I tell you something? You might have to deal with the United States of America in political terms if you don't understand that the future is to deal with China, India, Brazil, South Africa, and the Eastern countries in economic terms. You are backward. You don't get it. You don't get the new world, which is not a polarized world, us versus the West. That's over. That's politics. And they make you think that this is the equation of the future. The equation of the future is our ability to deal with new economic forces and also cultural forces. Because this is also something which is very important in our way we deal with the world. So our relationship to the other. So with all these crises, and you see there is a lot, we have to talk about many things. I don't have to take all of it, but I just wanted to highlight to start with, what are our priorities? How do we have to deal with all this? And I will start from within and come step by step to the internal first and then the external challenges that we are facing. At every point, what I want you to do as students, intellectuals, professors, is not to think about these challenges outside your
understanding outside your life, outside your society, but it is, if we are setting priorities, what can you do at your level starting now in your country? So it's very practical. It's now. What can we do as students? And you know what? That knowledge is a privilege. Any one of you in this room who is able to understand what I'm saying is a privileged human being. You have a privilege. This is a privilege just to get knowledge. So, as you know in Islam, with any privilege, there is a responsibility. In Islam, we don't start with rights. In Islam, al-khilafa, inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. Al-khilafa means you start with your duties towards Allah. Even ad-deen in Arabic comes with ad-dain. Ad-dain is your debt towards Him. So you start with your duty. You don't start with, this is my right. It doesn't mean that because you start with your duty, you forget your rights. So for example, the rights that I have to speak my mind here, it's a given right. But we have rights coming in the light of our duties towards Allah and towards the only one. So what are our priorities in practical terms, and then how are you going to implement them? So let me start with an important discussion. I said at the beginning that one of our crises is our understanding of the message. And let me put it that way. Today, for many reasons, our own history, at the beginning, when we had the first generations of Muslims, they were dealing with the world with confidence. And out of this confidence, they were creative. They were ready to look at the world, take from the cultures, and come with new understanding, new way of translating their understanding into rules. Why? Because what is important is that, in fact, when you have a vision, when you are confident, I don't know if you read the book that I wrote called in English, it's no, the book is What I Believe. In What I Believe, I'm talking about 7 C's that are essential. The first one is confidence. To be confident with our own message. The first generations of Muslims came with confidence. This is coming from Allah, and we are here to change the world for the better. The two main messages of Islam are very simple. Change yourself, change the world. So they changed themselves. This was the spiritual thing, and change the world. So be a positive, constructive presence in the world, wherever you are. الذين إن مكناهم في الأرض أقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأمروا بالمعروف ونهوا عن المنكر. Those who, when they are settling somewhere, what they are doing, they pray. This is the relationship to Allah. Then they pay zakat, the duty that they have towards the world and the poor, in the name of Allah, and then they command what is right and they resist what is bad. This is our presence wherever. So they came with thinking about how do we change the world. And they were using the rules to make their presence positive in the name of ethics, is what is good that we are promoting. This was a vision, very dynamic. In less than 1 century, they went from Morocco to India with this confidence. The problem that we had in our history is that at one point we lost this confidence. And in fact, instead of putting thought before law, we are putting law before thought. So now, it's not about we think about the world and we use the law in order to change. We use the law in order to protect ourselves from the other. So we have an obsession in our understanding of haram, 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 because we feel that we are colonized by the West in cultural terms. Is this true that we are colonized? Yes. But the response to colonization, intellectual colonization, is not to put in your mind haram. Is to have an alternative vision of how are we going to promote something that is countering this cultural presence and domination. We do not resist colonial power in terms of money, in terms of culture, and in terms of intelligence only by saying it's haram. So many of you in your houses today you might say it's haram, but the Western culture is in your living room. It's even worse than that. The Western culture is in your heart. The Western culture is even in your imagination. And you would say, smiling to me now, oh no, that's not true, that's not like this. Don't pretend. Don't pretend. You know exactly how powerful this dominant culture is. And we sometimes pretend to be Muslim by respecting the rules, but we are colonized. So now what we have to do as to the message is to understand that through our history, we ended up emphasizing the rules and forgetting the meaning. What we need now is to reconcile meaning and rules. So get me right. What I'm saying is, in the hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, it is clear. إِنَّمَا الْحَلَالُ بَيِّنٌ وَإِنَّمَا الْحَرَامُ بَيِّنٌ. The halal and the haram is clear. I don't want to change this. Halal, halal, or haram, haram. That's clear. What I don't want is this obsession of the rules without understanding why. How are we going to implement it? And this is where we need to reconcile with the meaning. We need to be also ethical in many ways. So, for example, in our ibadat, what I was saying, we pray 5 times a day. We fast during Ramadan. You can see signals, signs that the Muslims are very often respecting the rules, but they don't get the spirit. You want an example? In almost all the Muslim majority countries, Muslims are eating more during Ramadan than during the 11 other months. What does it mean? They don't get it. During Ramadan, you eat less, you don't eat more. So you have to understand that it's the relationship that you have with eating is eat less. No, we wait till the Maghrib and we eat more than all the other months. We don't get the spirit. In the Islam, for example, you have to respect animals. You have to respect nature. We come and we want halal meat. Tell me how you're going to kill the animal, but we don't treat animals the right way. That's not Islamic. That's we are forgetting the meaning. We just implement the rules and say, it's Islamic, halal meat, Bismillah, we eat. That's not the way. Even in the way we pray, in the way we fast, in the way we give money, there is a problem. We need to reconcile. And it means what? In our universities, don't tell me only about the rules. Give me the deep understanding, the spiritual understanding, what it means to be connected to God. Before telling me pray, explain to me that my prayer is a communication with Allah. The Quran that we read here is not only a beautiful voice that we like to hear, it's a communication with Allah. It's the way we have to deal with Him. So we have this crisis today, and it's not because you are a Muslim majority countries that you are not facing this. Because you are countering the Western culture is there, other culture is there, so very often in Iran, as in Saudi Arabia, as in Muslim majority countries, Indonesia, everywhere, and even in Europe, and even in the United States, we are protecting ourselves out and through the rules. And it means, for example, that in this, by being protective and not having a deep understanding of the message, sometimes this protective attitude is changing our priorities. Because who is deciding who are your priorities? For example, I'm a Swiss citizen. In Switzerland, we were told, you are not going to build minarets. They said as a problem in my country that minarets are a problem because it means that Muslims are colonizing Switzerland. So our answer to this is that we are only for minarets, and it's not the case. And we struggle for the minarets by saying it should be permitted to build the minarets. But what should be clear in our mind, that even in Islam, we are going to fight for our right, but we know that the minarets are not a priority in Islam. You can build mosques without minarets, and the first mosque in Islam was without minarets. So don't let them decide for you what is important. Even with the headscarf in France, you all followed the situation in France by saying, look, the headscarf, it's essential. And I was one of those saying the French law against the headscarf, it's a wrong law, it's discriminatory towards women. And I keep on repeating, saying something that I wanted to hear here in Iran. It's prohibited in Islam to impose onto a woman to wear the headscarf, and it's prohibited to impose onto a woman to take it off. So this is why when I'm talking to the French, I'm saying your law imposing onto the woman to take off their headscarf is wrong. That's clear. As I'm saying to Saudi Arabia and Iran, that my position, and I speak my mind here, and it should be clear, my position that any state decision to impose the headscarf on women is not right, according to the understanding Muslims and scholars have of Islam. This is position that you may disagree with it, and I'm saying this in the Faculty of Theology, that the position for me is, if you impose the headscarf, you end up forgetting about the meaning. Why do you wear the headscarf? What is the deep spiritual message there? Am I going to put it, and when you walk in the streets in many Muslim majority countries, the headscarf has no spiritual meaning. It's an imposition. I want to reconcile the meaning with the rule. Why I'm saying this? Because at the end, tell me, in Islam, for the woman, the starting point of their journey towards Allah, is it to wear the headscarf or to be connected to God and to pray? Our priorities should be set by the Muslims. Our priorities are spiritual. We know why we pray, not the rules that are protecting us from the West only. This is not the priority in our understanding. So I'm saying here that in our message sometimes, the way we are obsessed with our own protection makes our message distorted because of what we are facing, not because of our deep understanding of the message. So this relationship between rules and meaning, it's important. Now I'm going to challenge you. All the students who are here who are studying Islam, and all the Muslims in this room, or all the people who have an interest in Islam, can I ask you a question and be sincere with yourself? It's between you and Allah. Is how much time do you allocate to understand the deep meaning of what you are doing, while you are praying, while you are fasting, and the deep understanding of Islam changing your behavior? At the end of the day, how much Islam is changing you in your behavior and not in the way you respect the rules, in your behavior. Just get it right. You know, I'm teaching Islamic studies. It's very easy to get titles. It's very difficult to change behavior. I can be a professor. Can be a professor. You can be whatever, a doctor. We like all these titles. We Muslims, we like titles. The day of judgment, no titles. Do you think that Allah is going to talk to me by Professor Tariq? Tariq, what have you done? What is the reality of who you are? That's the point.
Brother.
No, Allah is not going to say brother. Allah is going to say Tara. And inshallah he will add a qualification saying I was good. But that's the point. That this is our understanding. So this is how it has to do with the message. And having said that, we today also in our priority, and I said this, you know, I live in the West, and you know we were talking about the Islamophobia, for example. There is a new racism today in the West, which is targeting Muslims for the only fact that they are Muslims. But once again, we have to be very cautious with this. We have to struggle against Islamophobia, but we should not end up being obsessed with the fact that they don't like Muslims and you try to please them by being Muslims responding, or by struggling in the legal field by saying we are going to fight. No, Islamophobia is a challenge, but beyond the challenge is what is going to be our presence in the West instead of our reaction. The deep answer to Islamophobia is not our reaction to racism, is the nature of our presence. It's beyond that. So this is what we have when we deal with the message. What I'm saying then is, for us, when it comes to the message, to have a deeper understanding and not only to abide by the rules. Having said that, it means in our understanding of the message, and I was just going to give you one example, very simple example. You are, almost all of you in this room, you are Muslims. And you say, La ilaha illallah, you believe in one God and you follow the Prophet, peace be upon him, alhamdulillah. I come with a very simple question. In your understanding of the message and your life here in Iran today, you're not going to respond to me, you're going to think about it. Can I ask you something? When it comes to try to understand your life, what are your principles? What are the principles on which you rely? What are the means that you are using in order to be faithful to the principles? And what are the objectives that you have in your life in this society? Very simple question. Are you able, with a clear mind, to give me your principles, your means, and your objectives? This is the basic questions that we have when it comes to Islamic sciences. العلوم الإسلامية always الأصول والوسائل والمقاصد. والأحكام هي الوسائل والأصول أصول الفقه law and jurisprudence. This is basic. Do you have this in your life? Are you putting yourself in this picture? Are you understanding Iran, your society, by saying, what are the principles on which Iran should rely? What are the means that are part of our way towards our maqasid, our vision? What is this? Do you have that? And you can see here that if you don't have this clarity in your mind, blame the West. If I'm coming from the West and against Iran, if you don't answer clearly to this question, I can just laugh, because it means that you are not doing your job. You are not doing what you have to do as Muslims. Is what are your principles? Which means are you going to use to achieve that in order to achieve which goals? So this is the understanding of the message. Let me just carry on with knowledge now. We have a big problem. And the big problem is this relationship when it comes to, after the message and the spiritual understanding the message, is our connection to Allah. And the big question here is how much in your life you talk to Him and you listen to what He is telling you, to you as a person, to you as an individual. Now, having talked about the spiritual understanding, we come to knowledge. And this is one of the deep crises that we have when it comes to knowledge. I know that we are very quick, and I'm always saying, you know, I have a say on our relationship to the West. It's like we don't like, in fact, we like the West. The fact, for example, that even I'm coming here, I'm coming from Oxford University, prestigious university. So we like the West. We like the production, the intellectual production of the West. But we don't like that we like the West. We are facing an internal tension that there is something which is attractive, but we don't like it. No, that's not us. But yet, culturally, the movies, if you listen to music, and you listen to music, don't pretend, it's coming from there. So there is an attraction, there is a conflict in us, which is a cultural conflict. My take on this is just for us just to get rid of it and to liberate ourselves from this relationship. And it means here that we need to come to our own relationship to knowledge. And our own relationship to knowledge is what I said at the beginning. Is we have experts on Islamic knowledge. For example, in your country, the production of religious knowledge in home and in the country everywhere, it's huge. The question is how much this religious knowledge is effective to help other sciences to deal with ethics in an ethical way. In other way, for example, when it comes to medicine, when it comes to bioethics, and you are ahead, many of the answers that are coming today in bioethics, in the field of bioethics, are ahead in the Shia tradition than the Sunni tradition, on that field specifically. But when it comes, for example, to environment, all what we know today about global warming, what is the Islamic message on global warming? What is our contribution between all what we know coming from the Quran or Sunnah, all what we have in our text, and the global warming? The world and the people are destroying the world today. We are destroying al-Kawn. We are destroying al-Kawn. And Allah is saying in the Quran, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. With time, the people are going towards their own destruction, except those who are resisting with their faith and doing good deeds. What is our contribution to the knowledge of the environment? What is our contribution in medicine? What is our contribution in human sciences? What is our contribution in economics? Instead of sitting down, as it happened just after the revolution. And I was happy, I want those who say they closed the stock market by saying this is speculation and interest, it's not Islamic. At the end, 30 years later, what is the economic contribution that we have as Muslims in the economy? What we call Islamic economy, it's not an alternative. It's just Islamizing the means, but not questioning the goals of the neoliberal capitalist system. That's the reality of it. So we have experts when it comes on the text, but then that's not the point. To be experts on the text and not knowing how to change the world is counterproductive. That's not what we have to do. We are here to change ourselves and to change the world. What are the connections? So for example, for all the students who are in this faculty, in theology, in which way are you going to use all the knowledge of the text that you have in order to get an influence on the other sciences? Medical doctors, economy, politics, culture, art. Do we have this connection? This is a deep crisis. The Sunni as well as the Shia are facing this connecting knowledge. One of the French philosophers with whom I wrote a book, Edgar Morin, is always repeating one of the main crises of Western knowledge is fragmentation of knowledge. That we have knowledge specialists in all fields, but they don't work together. They have no common objective. It's not for the sake of humanity. They are getting knowledge for the sake of knowledge and sometimes for the sake of money. Why? Because when you deal with weapons, you know that it's going to kill people. And by the way, you know that the transnational corporations producing weapons today are very happy with what is happening in Syria, very happy with people killing each other in the region. They sell weapons. They are making money. They are not ethical. And then you have weapons, you have pharmacology, for example, all the drugs and the medicines that you have, some are making money. They don't even want to help the people who are suffering AIDS, for example, in South Africa. Why? Because they are making money. They have the license and they have the rights. They don't want to sell drugs cheaper, they just want to make money. They don't care about life of the people. So we know how it works in the neoliberal system. Tell me, do we, as Muslims today, are providing the world with an alternative on this? No. The only thing which here, is it halal or is it haram? We even have economists who want to halalize capitalism. The Bismillah is right. Go ahead. So we want to halalize the system by halalizing the means, but not questioning the goals. So for example, when it comes to economy or when it comes to environment, we don't come with a contribution. There is a deep crisis among Muslims about the way we deal with knowledge. And you know who are the first responsible? You. Don't tell me Ayatollah, Mullah, Sheikh, us, the Muslims. Because we don't get that. We keep on criticizing the West about their own weaknesses, but we are doing exactly the same. We are fragmenting our knowledges. We do exactly the same. We are not coming with people working and all the forces that should work and be united in order to come with some of the answers. Now, it's going to be translated as summary.
More than summary.
After his lecture, yes.
Est-ce que vous voulez que je traduise jusqu'à maintenant?
No, give me 15 minutes, I end and you will have a summary.
Keep going.
So part of Islam is to be patient. But, you know, it would have been easier with simultaneous translation, but you don't have that. So we'll just let me finish quickly, and then you will have the translation. So now, what I'm saying here is the crisis that we have in knowledge is the lack of connection that we are unable today to make between human sciences, experimental sciences, and there are fields where things are clear on this. And by the way, Iran, for example, is a leading country in anything which has to do with arts. And it's not new. This is your old tradition. And we are today in a world culture. The world culture is mainly a Western culture. If we study today Islamic sciences, you know, and it's both. In the Shia, you find this in Jafar, it's something which is essential in Islam. All the scholars were talking about something which is a very important concept, with maslahat al-nas, the public interest of the people. That's very important. Maslahat al-nas means what? What is helping the people to have a better life and to feel good? Get it right. A better life and to feel good. That you feel good in your environment. That, for example, in Iran, with the Iranian culture, with your principles as Islamic, as Muslims, you feel good with the Iranian culture. Feeling good, it's important. Hanbala, when he went to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he said, when I'm with you, I remember the paradise, and I leave you, it's as if I'm forgetting everything. He said, yes, Sa'a. Sa'a said, 1 hour to pray and 1 hour to rest. The quality of your rest is going to help you to come back to Allah. We have to take culture seriously. We have to take culture seriously. You can't today speak to the youth, say, you know what, music haram, movie haram, everything is haram. The counter-culture to the world culture is not the haram culture. That's not a culture. That is a distraction. We can't do that. So which is the alternative in culture? While you have a so powerful culture in Iran, or arts, poetry, even movie, even with the music, that are things that are considered by the scholars as part of our religion, how are we going to use this to produce something which is helping us to have maslahatuna, which is our interest, is how are we going to deal with this? Where are we? No, we don't have this. We are very superficial in counter-culture. Very superficial. And it's as if it's not important. It becomes only important when you have children. And you see in them how powerful the dominant culture is, colonizing them from within. Mind, heart, and body. Everything. You see this, it's visible in their life. So then they understand, it's not like going to say, come, my daughter, sit down. In Islam, Allahu la ilaha illahu, pray 5 times, this is what you have to do. Well, the culture is everywhere. You need to understand that you need to come with an alternative, which is the only counter-culture to the dominant culture. Start with understanding your principles and what are your priorities, and to feel good within your religion and your reference. That's a very important dimension that we don't have. We are thinking of being Muslim. You know what is our parameter? Is not to feel good with the Islamic principles, is to feel bad with the Western principles. But that's not a culture. To teach the people, feel bad with the Western culture, when the Western culture is all based on feel good. You know, Coca-Cola. Well, ya'uzu billah. I don't drink Coca-Cola. Not because it's imposed, but I don't drink Coca-Cola. Why do I don't drink Coca-Cola? Because this Coca-Cola is not only a drink, it's a way of life. It's a way of life, it's a way you deal. You feel good, drink it. Feel good. And there is a resistance. It's all about money and making money and struggling with the traditions that we have. What are we going to do now? In which way we are going to deal with this? This is, an alternative contribution is very weak, as I said, and you can see here. I talked about economy, I talk about the environment, I talk about arts and culture, I talk about medicine, for example. All these dimensions are missing. And I challenge you on this. What is your contribution on this? A good Muslim is not only a alim, is not only a scholar. A good Muslim could be an artist. It could be a philosopher. Why do we separate Islam from philosophy? Philosophy is part of, we need to have a philosophy of life which is not about doubting everything, but about constructing a system, a vision. That's a philosophy. So when, for example, Al-Afghani was saying in the 19th century that Islam has a philosophy, he was right. And even our scholars, in your tradition, in the third tradition coming from the Shia, you have a philosophy of life. It's not only rules, it's a philosophy, it's a system, it's a cosmology that we have. Last point that I wanted to raise here. Is to ask ourselves, in two fields in which we are in fact realizing the objective of our presence. The objective of our presence is to be an added contribution to the world. So, which contribution are we making in the fields, all the fields that I mentioned? But there are two last fields that I wanted to discuss. The first is in which way, in the discussion that we have today, we are making our religious references an added contribution to the debate in the world. In which way? Islam, which is our reference, and for you, Islam and the Iranian cultures, because there is not only one in Iran, there are more than one, are contributing to the discussion that we have worldwide today. What is our contribution? And today, as I said, the mindset of being reactive doesn't help us to be contributing and creative. You know, one of the main crises that you are facing, you are getting knowledge, but how much are you creative? And how much are you daring to be creative? Because the point is this one. You know, I come, I visit, and some told me and made me understand that sometimes in Iran, you cannot speak your mind completely. You have to be cautious with something. I'm not. I'm wise, but I'm not going to stop talking and speaking my mind. What I have to say, I say. You like it, you like it. If, for example, after my visit, I'm told, you better not come back to Iran, I said, that's fine. I was banned from Saudi Arabia, banned from the United States of America. It's just a list that is.
It means it is the first time for
That's the first time that I'm visiting in my middle life. I hope not.
Last time.
I'm joking. Half joking. Anyway, the point here is to be clear on the way we are thinking about our contribution to the discussion to the world now. And I would say that I would like to see students, professors, intellectuals, and by the way, in Iran, some paid the price of that, to be more courageous in the way they are coming with some thoughts, in the way they are proposing, they are creative. We have a lack of creativity. And creativity, as I said, is not a reaction. A creativity is a production. It's beyond the reaction. So this contribution today, it's part of what we don't see coming from the Muslim majority countries, and we don't see coming from the Shia and the Sunni tradition. There is a lack, and add to this, because there is this lack of creativity and a lack of courage. A lack of courage. Facing authorities. You know, anyone who is in charge in a government, of course he or she is going to have a role to play. But as a citizen, I should be free and I have another role to play. When we have scholars telling us, if I'm right, support me, but if I'm wrong, correct me, it means be the counterpower helping me to be better. Don't keep quiet, don't be silent, be the counterpower that is helping the leader to be right. If not, that's wrong. everything in this, Allah is saying, وَمِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجِينَ. There is a couple of everything. And the couple is not only positive and positive. Sometimes it's positive versus negative. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَجَعَلَكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. Well, if he had will, he would have made us one community. But what he's saying, وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسِ بَعْضَهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ لَفَسَدَتِ الْأَرْضِ. If there is no negative and positive facing each other, the world would have been corrupt. So these challenges are helping us to be better. So if you are facing power, if you are facing the West, the point is, what is your courage and your contribution to be a counterpower in the whole business, in the whole process? Are you a counterpower? Are you producing thought that is helping this society to move on? This is what we are expecting from students. If you don't do this, you are not students. You are just repeating what is said. Among the animals, it's parrots. Repeating. So this is what is the point. And we have two problems, as I said, and I will end here. There is something which is lacking. I came here, and I repeated many times, working at Press TV, being at Press TV as a Sunni scholar, I was criticized by so many Sunni by saying, what are you doing with the Shia? I'm just doing what I have to do with Muslims, which is a dialogue, which is to keep in touch, because what others want is to divide us. So there is a necessity to be together. And then you go and you listen to some of the Sunni scholars and the Shia scholars. What we are saying about each other is unacceptable by any Islamic standards. It's unacceptable that we have people saying the Shia are not Muslims, or people, Sunni or Shia say that the Muslims or the Sunni are completely misled. And that's not the starting point of our discussion. The discussion is we are all Muslims. So are we able now to come together beyond our political or theological difference and to be able to say, let us be clear on what unites us? And Allah is saying in the Quran, تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى, piety and God consciousness. Are we God consciousness enough to come and to go beyond our differences? Yes or no? So the fact that, and it means that you have to pay the price for that, and the people are questioning, what are you doing with these people? What are you doing with these people? You need to be courageous enough. And by the way, how much have you learned about the Sunni tradition? As much I'm saying to the Sunni, how much do you know about the Shia tradition? You know much more about Christianity and Judaism and Hinduism than you know about Sunnis or about Shias. That's the problem. There is an internal mutual ignorance. And you are all saying Muslim. How much do you allocate to know your brothers and sisters in your religion, to be able to say, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ, we are brothers and sisters in Islam. So there is a lack here of this internal. And as I said, we are now divided out of our own lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, and lack of awareness. Last point is also to come to the political. You know, for years, and let me be clear on this. Any one of you in this room who is saying, I don't do politics, is in fact stating a political statement, or saying something which is political. You do politics, even if you don't do politics. You can do the politics of the absent, but the politics of the absent is politics. And sometimes it's cowardice. It's compromission. So, you do politics. The question is that we need to accept that we don't have, we don't agree on all our political views, but there are priorities. For decades, Muslims were coming together when they were saying in one voice, the Palestinian struggle is a legitimate struggle and we support the Palestinians. Today, with what is happening in the region, the center of gravity of the problems in the region are shifting towards Syria, and we are divided in Syria and no longer united in Palestine. Who is gaining of that? Who is taking advantage of all this? That's the best Zionist philosophy in the region is shift it. Put it, let them struggle in Syria and let us colonize Palestine. And you know what? We exactly what we are doing. We are silly enough to be obsessed with Syria and not to come to the center of gravity of the whole thing. But we are not going to forget about Palestine. Are you ready? Are you ready to speak your mind? But not only by criticizing the West, the United States of America, or the European countries. The first enemies of the Palestinians are the Muslims in the region. It's us, the first problem. It's not the West. The West is just using our divisions. There is a lack of unity among the Arabs and the Muslim majority countries in the region. Are all the people of justice? By the way, Palestine is not only an Islamic question, it's a political question about discrimination, colonialism, and the fact that we have to come together. Are we doing this? No, we're forgetting. We are forgetting, and we come and say, you know what, Bashar al-Assad, who for me is a dictator, by any standard, human rights, Islamic, whatever, I cannot support this guy. You will never get me supporting this guy, never ever. This guy killed and still killing. Now, you can disagree about how do we support. I know the position of your government. I think that Iran should have done better in this situation, but that's my view. And no, I'm not saying that because we disagree on this, Iran is no longer a Muslim majority country. I'm not saying this. I'm saying political mistake. I'm not even saying haram. I said political mistake. That's my opinion. But now, having this, can we come together and try also to think about what are the priorities in the region? We're not doing this. That's a very deep crisis that we have. With all this, you understand that the challenges, the message, spiritual, the education, the way we taught, it's about knowledge, the priorities in our life, how do we contribute and the added value, the internal dialogue, and the last one is what I said right now is our political position. So, by this, the call for you, intellectuals or students or professors, is to start asking ourselves, what do we teach in our universities, in our life? What do you teach to yourself? Which books are you reading, by the way? How do you train yourself? You know, I was told at the beginning that I'm the grandson of Hassan al-Banna, and I would say, you know, I not only acknowledge this, but I'm proud to be the grandson of Hassan al-Banna. I don't agree with all what he said, I don't agree with all what he did, I don't agree with the Muslim Brotherhood as an organization, but I agree with someone who said, let us start with the spiritual teaching, let us start with liberating our mind from the cultural presence of the British, saying to the British, this is not your country, get out of here. I agree with that. Of course I agree. This is right, this is what should be said. And by saying, let us come to this. So by saying this is also in practical terms, practically for ourselves is how do we deal this? And why I was saying this about Hassan al-Banna is the point that in the 40s, in this struggle, this way of also being clear about the starting point of your liberation is an intellectual liberation. And intellectual liberation is a read. But read, really, not only read the Quran, but read books. Half of the library of my grandfather was books on social sciences and political science. And not by Muslims, by the way. What are the books that you are reading? In which way you are constructing a mind that is able to be creative? Our social and cultural input, as I said, our social activities. Are you in your society in Iran today socially active, culturally active? Are we creating something in these two dimensions that is important? And as I said, ask yourself, I said this to your fellow students 2 days ago, during the last month, you who are in this room, how many people of other Islamic trend are from an other tradition have you met and talked to? Are you meeting Sunnis? Are you meeting people of other faiths? Not in the circles that we have. How many people do you meet that are not in your circle? In fact, I have a question. How open-minded are you? Not by sitting in this room and saying, I'm open-minded, but by facts, the people that you are meeting. That's the three elements of my conclusion, and I hope with your questions we'll have time to go further. Barakallahu fikum jami'an wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
حرف بزنة ما قال ممكن. أنا من كردستان العراق اسمي صهيب عبد الله فطالب ماجستير من الفقه الشيعة. أنا سني كردي أدرس الفقه الشيعي بالماجستير. فعندنا تاريخ احنا ككردستان من اذا نتكلم عن الموضوع التاريخية الإسلامية احنا عندنا صلاح الدين الأيوبي، واذا نراجع التاريخ المعاصر عندنا اتفاقية السايكس بيكو اذا يمكن يعني سايكس بيكو. فهذه الاتفاقية ليست اتفاقية، كانت مؤامرة على الكرد، لأن كردستان انقسمت على 4 دول، فالدول كلهم مسلمين، الفارس والعرب والترك، واحنا ككرد احنا كلنا مسلمين، ولحد الان احنا ندرس الاسلام واحنا نعتقد بالاسلام. فلماذا احنا نواجه المشاكل مثل داعش وننقسم الى 4 دول وهم يطبقون اتفاق مؤامرة السايكس بيكو؟ لماذا الفارس كالإسلام والعرب كالإسلام والترك كالإسلام يدافع؟ ما هي معيارهم؟ إحنا ضحينا في كردستان 180,000 مفقودين في الكرد، و5,000 تحت قصف الكيميائي بين الحرب العراق الإيرانية، و8,000 ضحايا من البارزانيين. لماذا الكرد يضحي ضحايا بين الدول الإسلامية وإحنا ككرد لماذا هذه الضحايا؟ ما هي معاييرهم؟ هل سياساتهم سياسة شرعية؟ ولحد الآن الكرد بسوريا صار لي 50 سنة ما عندهم ولا هوية. ما هي يعني أساسهم الفكري وأساسهم الإسلامي وأساسهم فإن شاء الله جنابكم إذا تلتقي نظرة على هاي الموضوع يعني على معاييرهم حتى احنا نعرف هل هي مفهوم إسلامية أو إذا مفهوم إسلامي خلينا نواجه
شكرا عزيزي.
مشكور.
لست أنت فقط طلبة، أنت أستاذي. شكرا. عفوا. I would like to say a sentence. We don't support من أنصار الله في اليمن. We don't support Bashar Assad. We don't support so and so, Ismail Haniyeh. We support as Muslim, not as a Shia. We support of life of Islam, part of Islam. Thank you so much.
I would like to thank Ahmed. That was really great. But
can I just jump on what he said, because I didn't understand what he said.
Unfortunately, she does not ask the questions very clearly. This is a great problem we've got with that lady. But my question is just, I would like to thank you for the organization of this meeting. Unfortunately, it was disorganized and it was not organized well, and this is just, something critical of your organization. Thank you, really thank you, Professor Ramadan, for your words on just, some generalities that you have with us. My very question is that, first of all, I want to have my phrases. The words that you had for us, let me say something to you. Believe me, your words are not new to us at all. We have got very good intellectuals, we've got very good thinkers, religious thinkers that have got words really, really better than yours, but unfortunately the problem is that they are not given the podium to have the words uttered. This is a big problem we've got in the country. The second question, just my first question, which is supposed to be the last question, is that based on what you said, based on your take about just, Islamic doctrines and Islamic teachings and the situations that we've got in the Middle Eastern world, the superpowers attacking just, Middle East, for their own benefit, the fractures that we have got in the Middle East, the fragmentations that we've got, the dichotomies that we've got. What is your take on the future of Islam? This is very important for me to know. What do you think about future of Islam? And also, I want to say something to you. I do agree with your words that you had in here today. But this is very important. What is your prescription? How do you just see, how do you want to define, especially when you're speaking about political Islam, you had your words that we should not be enacted politically. This is very important. You say that we should not be active politically, but what is your prescription? How do you suggest that just, contribute to Islam through politics? This is a very important question. I once again thank you and thank all people, all professors and friends that are here and have contributed to the betterment of this meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Next time we will be with Professor Tariq Ramadan for giving the answers of all of the questions.
I don't think if there is going to be a next time.
I'm so sorry. We should go to airport and let me thank you.
Please, can I just, because I was going to ask you to have 3 questions. Can you give the floor? No, we can go like this, just without translation, just for this. There is only one
yes,
other
even
question.
If you want, vous pouvez parler en français, c'est pas pour tout le monde.
No, okay, that's fine. It's not a question of language, it's a question of time. But if there is only one other question, and I take 5 minutes to answer, okay, just one other question. If there is a sister...
We don't have enough time.
Just, yes, we have. 5 minutes I will respond. But if there is...
Go for lunch.
I can take from my lunch with the question. There is no sister, no question from the sister?
Okay,
there is one there and this is the last one. Go ahead.
I'm so thankful that you had a time with us and spoke about things that are very essential. You spoke about those things that are very essential to be heard in our faculty, which is the Faculty of Theology. You talked about the knowledges as a priority and that they should not be fragmented, they should be connected. If you mean by the connection of knowledges and their connection to Islam, that they should be, the Islamic principles should be considered in them, it is right and we have no problem about it. But there is a discourse in our country about the Islamization of knowledges, which means that we should extract, for example, economic principles, political principles, architecture from Islam, and put away what we get from European countries. For example, at the time of our Prophet Muhammad, a person comes to him and says that I got a cold. He prescribes a turnip for him, and then they say, because our Prophet has said this, we should not use amoxicillin and we should use turnip. We should use Islamic medicine. Do you agree with this? Is it right to put away the human achievements? And do you think that
I got the question.
There's a saying about Prophet Muhammad that "Antum a'lamu minni bi umuri dunyakum." What do you think about that?
Okay, thank you. I can't. I just, because we don't have time. This time is a question of time. So about the first question and the Kurdish and the Sykes-Picot and what مؤامرة سياسية طبعا شيء واضح، ولكن ليست يعني مؤامرات من الطرف الإسلامي أو البلد الإسلامية. هذا أتى من الغرب ويعني مسيطرة على المنطقة. والهدف الأساسي والمعايير هي التفريق بين البلاد الإسلامية وفي الداخل يعني الكردش الكرد. يعني ما كانتش يعني مسألة هامة في هذه الأيام. أهم شيء كان يعني المنطقة والبترول أول شيء، وبعد ذلك طبعا التفارق بين البلاد والمسيطرة على المنطقة. فهذا ليست يعني معايير إسلامية وليست لها علاقة بالإسلام. هي الأصل هنا يعني أهداف سياسية في المنطقة واقتصادية في المنطقة كذلك. So it's not a question of it's a Western colonization. Sykes-Picot is the way you divide the Middle East in order to control the Middle East, as I said. The second is about what you said, which I think should be something which is clear. We are not supporting so and so, and we are not speaking about Bashar al-Assad and others. We support justice and we support what is Islamically right. What is Islamically right is what is just, and it's justice, dignity, and freedom.
So I would say that my position is based on an internal dialogue, based on the principles and not on the people. And even I heard from the Prophet ﷺ something which is very important, that even among Muslims there are parameters that are important. Ansur akha zaliman aw mazluma. So you have to support your brother when he's right and when he's wrong. How are you going to support him when he's wrong? By stopping him from doing wrong. So there is something which is critical. I'm not going to, and even in the Quran, وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا فَإِن بَغَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا عَلَى الْأُخْرَى فَقَاتِلُوا الَّتِي تَبْغِي. In the Quran is saying, stand up against your own brothers when they are unjust. So the parameter of our relationship, it's our love in Allah, but our common respect for justice. And if you are unjust, I'm going to stand up. If you are unjust, you have to stand up against me. So we are a community, a spiritual community of principles, not alliances with our brothers. And I cannot accept politics based on geostrategic interests beyond justice and dignity of the people. So that's my position. And I will do this against the West, and I'm going to do this against the Muslims, wherever they are. For example, we speak about Myanmar. We are speaking about the Rohingyas, the way they are discriminated in Burma. That's fine, but why do we Muslims don't speak out against the Bangladeshi government that is treating them as animals? And it's the Muslim country. These are Muslims, they are treating others. So the question is not about we are against Burma because it's not a Muslim majority country. We are against anyone who is treating people like animals. And even if they are Muslims, so we have to speak up. So having said that, the third question that I had is, thank you, I never claimed to be better than other intellectuals. And your point is right, that I'm sure, and I know, in fact, I'm not sure, I know that many intellectuals in Iran are bright, courageous, and sometimes they don't have the floor, they don't have the podium. So, at one point, what is my role? My role is to come to Iran and to pretend that I'm better than them, or maybe, because it's not the case, by the way, and I agree with you, or to come to Iran and to be able to say things that I can say as a visitor who has a podium, and my responsibility is clarity, courage, and dignity. That's what I have to do. So it's not a question of comparing me to other scholars. Is do I do my job or not?
I just wanted to be speaking on behalf of my own fellow intellectuals.
I know, but let me tell you something.
I just somehow
let me tell you something.
The opportunity that I gave.
That's good. That's good.
To say the first point, I do agree with you, especially on the second point I just uttered now. Let
me finish. I have been in touch with Iranian intellectuals. I have been involved before the revolution, during the revolution, after the revolution. I'm still in touch with many scholars and many intellectuals. And I am proud of that, and I value the courage of some who paid with their life, they paid with prison, their thoughts. So I'm not here to make as if I don't know, and I know how much you have to pay the price. What you are saying is good and it's important to be said, so let me support what you said by saying I'm not trying to say that I'm coming with new views. I had a talk. The talk was about our challenges. I can't, in 45 minutes, put the elements, try to categorize the challenges and come with all the answers. What is your take on this? What is your take on that? I have 35 books. In the books, I try, and one of them is Radical Reform, Islamic Ethics and Liberation. It's a book that I'm trying to raise questions and come with some answers on what you are saying about the future of Islam. I even have a book that is translated, by the way, I heard yesterday, I did not even know that it was translated into Farsi, is Western Muslims and the Future of Islam. Because I am very optimistic. I am not scared about Islam. I do have problems with Muslims, I don't have a problem with Islam. With Muslims, yes, and I think that we are not doing the job. So about Islam, even in the West, all what you are hearing today about Islam in the West and Western Muslims, it's not because we are failing, it's exactly the opposite.
The problems today is because we are succeeding as being a Western religion, and we are becoming citizens, and in the future, inshallah, in the coming generations, you will see this. All this agitation is not because we are failing, it's the opposite. The people are scared because I'm a European, I don't have a problem, and I'm dealing with it. So this is for the Muslims in the West. As to the Muslims in Muslim majority countries, I don't know if you have read the book that I wrote just after the so-called Arab Spring, the Arab Awakening, and before this I wrote another book, Islam, the West and the Challenges of Modernity, about Muslims in Muslim majority countries. I'm trying to translate the vision. I'm trying to say something about this. So this is in the book, but I can't in 45 minutes respond about all this. And what you said is about the prescription and the way I can answer some of the questions that I was putting. And on this, there are levels, different levels. For example, I have been now working for almost 15 years in the field of comprehensive approach towards knowledge. The center that I'm leading now, the Center for Islamic Legislation and Ethics, is working in 11 fields, from education, environment, culture, media, art, trying to come with the scholars of the text and the scholars of the context to bring them together to produce new thoughts, and among them Muslim, Sunni and Shiite scholars that are working together. So this is in the field of knowledge. In the field of politics, for example, when it comes to what is happening, what is my political stance? Let me be clear on this. I have a problem with Muslims who are only vocal when Muslims are victims. I don't agree with that. I am on the side of the oppressed, whoever they are, whatever their religion. Because the oppressed are as the people are when you go, a patient is going to a medical doctor, the medical doctor should never ask him or her about his or her race, his or her religion, and his or her social status. You go and you deal with and you try to cure the patient. We should do exactly the same with the oppressed. And the Muslims are supporting Palestinians, and mainly in their mind because they are mainly Muslims. They speak up about what is happening in the Middle East in the name of Muslims. They don't speak enough in the name of Islam and in the name of our principles, in the name of the oppressed. And some of them, for example, I have been involved for years on the side of the Tibetans against the Chinese government because they are oppressing. And this is in the name of my universal take and Islamic principles. So my position everywhere is always to be on the side of principles.
Don't forget Bahrain. Don't forget Bahrain.
I never forget.
Shias.
My brother, in the book, The Arab Awakening, go and read what I'm saying about Bahrain. Transforming the whole discussion into Shia Sunni while this is a dictatorship oppressing. I'm dealing with all this. I have been banned from 9 Muslim majority countries. So that's the price to pay, but please don't take this as something which is a position where I'm prided of. My point here is I want us, Muslims, to be on the side of justice and dignity, whoever we have to face. Even our own government. Even our own government. And if I come and I deal, I am here, I'm welcome in Iran, it will never mean, even if I go to Qatar, I have a center in Qatar. Look at what I'm saying about Qatar and its policy. I am clear on this. I will never keep quiet and shut up on principles and justice, even in Iran, even about the fact that you have problems. I wrote a letter to the government here saying that there is a researcher, Canadian, that is in jail and this was wrong. And I think that this is what we have to say. You know what? This critical presence is a gift to governments. Exactly the opposite of what the governments are saying. And I will be against any religious populism. People playing with the religious emotion of the people to make them together against the other. I don't deal with emotions. I deal with reasonable take on politics, and I think that this is a point that I wanted to make. The last point about what you are saying, which is essential, and it comes to the discussion that we have in our center. I know that some are talking about Islamization of knowledge, and I was against this trend by saying, what does it mean, Islamization of knowledge? What does it mean to be an Islamic doctor? Are you a specific Islamic way to deal with cancer? Are you an Islamic way to deal with heart attack? Or the body is the body. By the way, the body in itself, it's coming from God. This is the creation, Sunnatullah. So you have to deal with the object the way it is. So this is not Western science. These are science that are universal knowledge about the body. The way you understand the way it works should not be Islamized. What could be the Islamic input in this is how do you use your knowledge in order to produce an ethical way to deal with the knowledge. So the point is the ethics in the knowledge. So what I want, for example, is for us to say what we are doing, for example, with drugs. I really need an Islamic response to the transnational corporation capitalizing money in the way they don't want to distribute drugs and medicines to the poor in order to make money. We have an answer. This is Islamizing the values, not the knowledge itself. The way we use so in economics, for example, you can speak about Islamic economy, but our Islamic economy is Islamizing the means. I want to Islamize the goals. I don't want us to be obsessed as making as much money as the neoliberal system. This is Islamizing the means. Let us speak about the deep question. Exactly the same in psychology, exactly the same in culture. All these elements would say, I don't speak about Islamic science, I speak about Islamic ethics in science, which is not the same. And this is deep, it means that you have to be involved to understand how am I going to, and it's coming from what? A very simple dua of the Prophet Allahumma nas'aluka ilman nafi'a. We are asking you useful knowledge. The knowledge is knowledge, but the useful knowledge is the ethical way to use the knowledge for the sake of the good for humanity. The good for humanity, not only for Muslims. Islamization of knowledge for Muslims is wrong. Ethical Islamic principles of knowledge for humanity is right. Why? Because the Prophet said, أنفعكم خيركم أنفعكم للناس. The best among you is the most useful for humanity. Are you playing this role today? No. We have a segregated mind and we think of ourselves against the other, not at the service. In the name of God, the best among us is serving humanity, not trying to exploit humanity. That's the starting point of our discussion. Wallahu a'lam.